All right. And welcome back to this session of A Course in Miracles. And today we're going to look at the idea that is shared in Workbook Lesson 138. Heaven is the decision that I must make. Heaven is the decision I must make. Wow, that's a definitive statement, if I might say. So today we're going to look at this workbook lesson from 138. And here, when you, by the way, my name is Oliver, and I am your temporary guide and host today. And and this lesson is being sponsored by Truly Foundation, a nonprofit organization that is in love with honoring the truth. And so the idea today, heaven is the decision I must make. Notice now. Heaven is the decision I must make. So when we see the word heaven, heaven is basically symbolic. It's symbolic of the it's symbolic of the unlimited space that reality holds. It's symbolic of what in most renderings would refer to as the home of God. And but heaven is not a place, but it is a field of awareness. It's a timeless and formless, eternal reality where there's only wholeness and completeness, where there is only that which is every thought of God. Jesus in his ministry mentioned heaven many cases, use it as a comparative when comparing heaven as reality to this world. And in fact, he said, let it be on earth as it is in heaven. So here the idea is that, on earth, heaven is a realization. Heaven is a revelation. And heaven is the reality of all that there is. And so it's kind of a metaphoric or symbolic term. Okay? You kind of get the idea. And so it's saying that this is the decision that we need to make for that. So in reality, we've never left home. We've never left heaven. We've never left God. So this is speaking to the mind that believes that it's separate, that you must make a decision for this, because that's the only decision there is, because that's the only reality there is. So let's just see what it says here. It says, in this world, or in this place we call the world, and we know that the world is a place where there's a false identity, where there's a place of not reality. It says, so in this world, heaven is a choice. So in this world, there are choices. In this world, there's duality. In this world, there are options. In this world, there are multiplicity of beings, and all that this world was built on is a place of opposites. Okay. And so it says, in this world, heaven is a choice. Because here, just because of a belief system, it said, because here in this world, we believe there are alternatives to choose between, like heaven and hell, heaven and earth, heaven and Hades, heaven and whatever, all the other comparative options that is normally related to heaven. But here it's saying that's only a choice because we believe that there are alternatives to choose between. We think that all things have an opposite. This is the way the world of perception is made. The world of perception is all about duality. It's all about polarity, that there's an opposite to everything. But we know from the Course description of reality that in reality there are no opposites. In reality, there's only eternity. In reality, there's only God. In reality, there's no birth, there's no death, there's no options, there's, but in the world of perception, which is the world that we made, there are opposites. So we think that there are opposites. We think there are multiple choices. It says, and what we want, we choose. That's the idea in this world of duality that we live in, this world of body identification that is so prevalent. It says, but if heaven exists, if it exists, if God's original self exists, if God is indeed unchanging, if God is indeed unalterable, it says, if heaven exists, there must be hell as well in this world. That's the way we think. That if there's a heaven, there's a hell. If there's cold, there's hot. If there's up, there's down. If there's in, there's out. So we live in this space called this horizontal space called Earth, or the world, and it's a place of duality, of polarity, of opposites. But in reality, there are no opposites. There are no polarities. There's only the one. And so here it appears that we have choices. And so it says we think that all things have an opposite, and what we want, we choose. If heaven exists, there must be a hell. For contradiction is the way we made what we perceive. It is through contradiction. It's in conflict, it's in opposites. That's what we made. That's the world of perception and what we think is real. Remember, the world that we know, the world that was made as an attack on God. The world that we made we made this world to be an attack on God, or an attack on oneness, by introducing the idea of duplicity, duality, polarity, the idea of individuality. All these are not God ideas. These are man-made ideas based on a belief in separation. And so creation knows no opposite. What God created, there is no opposite. Love has no opposite. But we have been highly developed in the laws of this world, which is based on what? Opposites and contradiction. And so, but creation has no opposite. This is coming from now. Now, this is coming from God's perspective. There are no opposites in heaven. There's only God. There is no sickness, no disease, no poverty, no lack, none of those oppositions. There are no oppositions to heaven, in other words. Heaven is a place of utopia, a place of bliss, a place of truth, a place that cannot be changed or altered. So there's no opposites. But here in this world of perception, is opposition part of being real? So we're taught that reality is opposition, that there are opposites. This is what we're taught in this world of perception. But this is a false representation of reality. This is not a duplication of heaven. It only becomes heaven when you wake up to the reality of the oneness. Then it becomes what? It becomes a place of heaven. It says, it is this strange perception of the truth that makes the choice of heaven seem to be the same as the relinquishment of hell. As though there's an option to go to hell, or there's an option to choose for hell. In reality, no, there's not. In this dream world, yes, there is, because this world is based on, again, opposites. It's based on belief in separation. It's based on the idea that what God created has been undone. What God created has sinned. What God created is guilt. What God created is not innocent. This is what here that has been playing in our realm of the mind. And so it says, it is not really thus. This is, of course, perspective. There is no opposite. There is no hell to go to. There's no hell to send anyone to. But most of our theologies are based on what the idea, fear-based theology is based on the idea that there's a hell for those to go to, that God will actually send his son to hell. Or have prepared one for him. But it says, this is not thus. And this argument has come up over the years, and it's really, an argument or an opposition that many are being challenged with. And those that hold that idea, they've been basically barred from the traditional religious community. But we're not going to get into that. That's not what this is all about. It says, yet what is true in God's creation cannot enter here. It can't enter into this world of duality. Why? It says, until it is reflected in some form the world can understand or the world can accept. It's hard for the world to accept the unchangeability of heaven. The world that we live in, the world that we've made, is based on separation. It's based on duplicity. It's based on duality and polarity. It's based on there's an opposite to everything. We've been highly developed in that thinking. That is not the thoughts of God. That's the thoughts of humanity. So it says that what is true in God's creation, what God extended, which is what is himself. What God extended is changeless. It's unalterable. It says, so what God created cannot enter into this world of duality until it reflects in some form the world can understand. And so it says, for this would be the era. No, let me go before that. It says, truth cannot come where it could only be perceived with fear. The world needs some form of fear or fear-based in order to even entertain the idea that there is no opposites. He said, what do you mean there's no opposites? He said, opposites all around us. Just look and see. Well, what you're looking and seeing is not reality. And so for this would be the era truth could be brought to illusions. That which is real is not that threatened. That which is real is not threatened. Truth is not threatened. So truth is not going to be brought to an illusion. Contrary, all illusions are being brought to the truth. Why? Because they are not real. Truth doesn't need to prove anything. Truth doesn't need, reality doesn't need to justify anything. It merely is. So it says opposition makes the truth unwelcomed. That opposition or defense. So we build a defense to the truth. So we can't let it in. Why? Because There's no fear attached to it. And everything in this world has fear attached to it. But the truth has no fear. So it says, unless we come up with a form that the world can understand, it can't enter in. Just like the truth is designed to enter into our mind to heal us. But it has no place to enter without fear until we allow our self to take down the defenses. And so opposition makes truth unwelcomed, and it cannot come. Wow. And it cannot come. Truth can't come where it's not welcomed. And truth is designed. Truth is for our, truth is the way. It is what administers healing to us. But if we can't accept it, if we put a block up against it, then it says it cannot come because it's not welcomed. And so choice is the obvious escape from what appears as opposites. In other words, what appears as opposite appears as choices, multiple choices. Remember, we said that reality is unambiguous. It's not a smorgasbord. It's not multiple choices. There's only one reality. And in reality, there are no choices. It says decisions lets one of conflicting goals become the aim of effort and expenditure of time. Without decision, time is but a waste and effort dissipated. It is spent for nothing in return, and time goes by without results, without a decision. There is no sense of gain, for nothing is accomplished, nothing is learned in this world, what they say, without a decision. It says, so we need to be reminded that we think 1,000 choices are confronting us. That's what the world presents to us every day, that there's 1,000 choices to be made. There are 10,000 things always coming at us. It says, when there is really only one to make. It gives us the impression that there's 1,000 choices to confront us. But here, God said that there's only one choice to make. And even this but seems to be a choice. The one choice seems to be a choice. It says, do not confuse yourself with all the doubts and the myriad or the multiple decisions would induce. It says, we make but one choice in reality. We make but one. And when that one is made, we will perceive it was no choice at all. In heaven, there's nothing to choose. It merely is. In your reality, you merely are. It says, for truth is true. Notice now, truth is true. And nothing else is true. That's saying God is, and there is nothing else. Heaven is, and there's not another choice. It only becomes a choice in a world of separation. It only becomes a choice in a world that is created as what? As an attack on reality, on an attack on oneness. Then it seems that there are multiple choices, millions of choices that confront us. That's the world that we live in. He said, but this is not the real world. This is not reality. This is not what heaven is like. It said, for truth is true and nothing else is true. There is no opposite to choose instead. There's only one, not even a decision here. There's just only one thing. And that is what? To accept the atonement for ourselves, to accept the truth as it is. To accept reality, the unalterable, unchanging reality of oneness. that is not threatened, not even by the multiplicity of seeming choices and decisions. It's not threatened by anything that we make up, any requirements, any ideas that we come up with to make God into our own image, to make of God an unloving Father, and to place the responsibility of all these options on that which is what has no option. It says there is no contradiction to the truth. None. Absolutely. The truth is what it is. It says choosing depend on learning. So we learned this. This is what the world taught us. And the world of perception is learned. It's not given. In heaven is given. And the God is the giver of all things. But in this world of perception, it's learned. So we have learned that there are multiple choices. And choosing depends on learning. And the truth cannot be learned, but only recognized. Notice now, the truth is not learned. God can only be experienced. You can only be experienced. Awareness is the only thing that can be aware of itself. And that's what we are. It's not learned, it's experienced. It's a knowing. We come to know the truth, and the truth that we see know sets us free. Not the truth that we learn, the truth that we absolutely know. And so it says it is only a recognition. You can only recognize the truth. It says that the truth cannot be, we talked about the truth can be unrecognized, but it can't be changed. And that's true. It can only be unrecognized. And it's unrecognized when we build up defenses, when we build up blocks to the awareness of the truth, of the presence of truth, or love's presence, with truth, which is love, which is synonymous with love. And this course said that its aim is not to teach the meaning of love, but to remove the blocks, to tear down the fences, to remove the fences, to remove everything, to remove the veil. Blocks the awareness of love's presence, the awareness of truth, the awareness of heaven. It says the truth cannot be learned, but only recognized. In the recognition, it's acceptance. See, we have to just accept the truth. It says so it's not a decision that we made. Really, it's just what we just accept what is. It says, and the truth cannot be learned, but only recognized. In recognition, its acceptance lies, and as it is accepted, it is known. It comes through knowing. Knowing comes through acceptance. Acceptance comes through recognition. So first there's a recognition, then there's an acceptance, and then there's a knowing. Paul said that is the ultimate, that we may know him. Know him who? To know ourselves, to know God, to know reality. That we may know the truth. He says, but knowledge is beyond the goal we seek to teach within the framework of this course. Knowledge is beyond the goal. We're not here to teach the knowing. We're here to remove the blocks to the awareness of the truth. That's the goal. That's what being transformed is. Taking down our defenses. Remember, defenses. Excuse me. Defenses must come down. The veil must come down in our minds. And so he says, that is not our goal. Knowledge is beyond the goal that we are teaching here. It says, but ours are teaching goals to be attained through learning how to reach them. what they are and what they offer. Decisions are the outcome of our learning, for they rest on what you have accepted as the truth of what you are and what you need must and what our needs must be. In this insanely complicated world, this is how the Course described the world. He said, in this insanely complicated world, heaven appears to take the form of a choice, like everything else, rather than merely being what it is. Of all the choices you have tried to make, this is the simplest, most definitive, and prototype of all the rest. The one which settles all decisions, the choice for heaven. It says, but when you solve, it says, if you could decide the rest, this one remains unsolved. But when you solve this one, the others are resolved with it, for all decisions but conceal this one by taking different forms. So we have to, we've been taught in this course how to look past the forms, which are deceptive, look past the forms, which are illusions, to the truth. It says, so because it is the forms that conceal the truth. It is the form that conceals the truth. It is the illusions that conceal the truth. It is the falsehood that conceal the truth. It is this world of illusion that conceal the world of reality, which is heaven. It says, here is the final and the only choice in which is truth. Accepted or denied. So we begin today considering the choice that time was made to help us make. Such is its holy purpose. So the purpose for time is to help us to remember who we are and to accept our reality. It's to remember who we are and embrace our reality. Time, if time, which is an illusion, has a purpose, God uses it now. Why? Because we find ourselves think we're in it. He uses it to help us to make the choice. Such is its holy purpose, not transformed from the intent that we gave it, that it be a means of demonstrating hell. That's why we made this world, a means to demonstrating hell, and that hell is real. Some of the things we have experienced, some of the things we observe every day, we would say is hellish. The hell is the belief in separation. The hell is within the dream of separation. That's what hell, but it's just a dream. It's an illusion. It's not even real. But we try to make hell a reality in this world as though it's a choice. We try to make it to such a reality to the point that we send people there. We tell them to go to hell. But the only hell there is the one that we create through the belief in separation. And so this world is designed to demonstrate that hell is what real, that hope changes to despair, and that life itself must in the end be overcome by death. Because hell is death, or death is hell, and both are illusions. Both are ideas that we made up. None of these are God ideas. And so in death alone are opposites resolved. For ending opposition is to die. And that's where people who get so consumed by this world and its opposition, so consumed by this world that is so insanely complicated, so consumed by the opposites in this world, so consumed by the hopelessness, to the point that what? All that they can see is death. And so they take their life, or they take the lives of others. That's where it comes from. And so, and thus salvation must be seen as death. For life is seen as a conflict. And so the people get to the point where they say the only way out of here is death, because all they see in life is conflict. To resolve the conflict is to end your life as well. And that's what we see happening. Even in 2022, with all the mass shooting going on, it's happening because people have what? People have built a fence or a defense against the truth and will not allow it in. Because the truth has no fear. The truth has no torment. And all they know is fear and torment. All they know is opposites. And so that is such a insane state of being, a hellish state of being. It's hell on earth. And so people get to the point. If they're not open, if they don't let enough light come in, not enough truth to come in to heal them, that all they see that can resolve it all is death. And so they end their life. But even in that, that's all happening in the dream. In the world, they say, oh, that's the unpardonable sin. No, there is no sin. The sensation of a body is not death. It's just that the body is what? Its usefulness is done. So it goes back to what it was. Nothing. Dust, ashes, water. It says these mad beliefs, see, these mad beliefs that happens in our minds can gain unconscious hold of great intensity and grip the mind with terror and anxiety so strong that it will not relinquish its ideas about its own protection. This is what the ego mind is after and want to do. To get you to the point, get me to the point, get humanity to the point that we are gripped in our minds with terror and anxiety so strong that it will relinquish its ideas about its own protection. It must be saved from salvation, threatened to be safe, and magically armored against the truth. And so we arm ourselves. That's why we arm ourselves so heavily, because we have gone to almost to the bitter end of the ego's thought system. And eventually it's going to tell you to kill or be killed. That's the ego thought system. Kill or be killed. That's your only way out. It says, and these decisions are made unaware to keep them safely undisturbed, apart from question and from reason and from doubt. And so we embrace this as normal. We embrace this as what? Mental health. No, it's not mental health. It's a defense against the truth. And so heaven is chosen consciously. Our only way out is to choose reality. Our only way out of any dilemma is to choose what is real. To choose for your reality, to choose for God, to choose for what is true. It says heaven is chosen consciously. The choice cannot be made until alternatives are accurately seen and understood. All that is veiled in shadows must be raised to understanding, to be judged again, this time with heaven's help. In other words, we have to what? We have to look at the way we have thought, the way we have perceived in the past that have not brought us peace. And it has not brought us peace because we're not thinking with the mind of God, with the mind of Christ. We are thinking with the mind of the ego, which is designed to drive us to the edge of insanity. And so we have to reevaluate everything, reevaluate the way we think, the way we perceive, which will affect the way we act and the results that we get and what we experience. That's what this whole workbook lesson, this is what the whole Course in Miracles was designed for, to help humanity come back to its reality. And so that's why the in-depthness of this course, that's why the constant reminder, that's why the themes of forgiveness and the themes of sickness and the themes of healing and the themes in these ideas, which consistently are introduced to us over and over and over again, introduced to a mind that has been driven to the edge. And what needs to happen is the undoing. You see, the only thing that needs to happen is the undoing, because what is reality? Because at the core of the undoing, what is revealed is reality. What is revealed is our oneness, our healing, our wholeness, our completeness, our innocence. And all mistakes in judgment that the mind had made in the past before are now open to correction. Now we're open to correction. Why? Because an error has been made in our thinking, and errors can be what corrected. It's not sin. Sin denotes punishment. Sin denotes guilt. That is not God's idea. That's an ego idea. So all mistakes in judgment that the mind, what the split mind has made, the mind that believes in separation, all of that judgment that he has made, that was made before, are now open to correction, as the truth dismisses them as causeless. There's no cause in the mind that believed in separation, the mind that believed in sickness and death and sin and guilt and fear. It said there's no cause. That's just an effect of wrong thinking. And they have no cause. They have no value to reality. They can't change anything. They can only seemingly provide an experience of anguish, an experience of torment and suffering. It says, now are they without effects. Why? Because we have opened our mind for correction. It says they cannot be concealed. They cannot be defended. They cannot be hidden anymore. Why? It says because their nothingness is recognized. When we recognize the nothingness of opposites, the nothingness of opposition, the nothingness of threats, the nothingness of attacks, the nothingness of the false self, the made world that we created, when we understand the nothingness of it, the unreality of it, that it doesn't even exist, it says when we recognize that, we realize it has no effect. All that we thought we did to separate ourselves, it has no effect. All that we thought we did to put ourselves, in a strained relationship with each other and with God, it said, well, it has no effect. All that we thought we did that was a sin against God, it said, it has no effect. Why? Because we have recognized what the nothingness that it is. We have recognized the unreality of what it is. And so we bring all of this illusion, all of this disillusion. We bring all of this fantasy, all of this dreaming of separation, all of this hallucination, thinking that we're something that we're not. All the fantasies, all the wild and vain imaginings. We bring all of the illusions to the truth and recognize their nothingness. That nothing can separate us from the love of God. And we have awakened. We have been enlightened. Now we have waken up. We're awake now. And we see how we have been bamboozled by this world. Never again. Not anymore. The truth has set us free. Truth has come in and have healed our belief in separation. So the conscious choice of heaven is as sure as is the ending of the fear of hell. So when we make the conscious choice for heaven, that is all there is. It says that it is as sure as the ending of the fear of hell, or the fear of anything, the belief in separation. There's only one choice to make. And when it is raised from its protective shield of unawareness, it is brought to the light. When hell is brought to the light, when hell is brought from its protective shield of unawareness. See, we are awareness. In the world, the opposite of that would be unawareness, which is hell. So when we're brought from a state of unawareness to awareness, it is brought to the light. And who can decide between the clearly seen and the unrecognized? It says, who can decide between the clearly seen, awareness, and the unrecognized, hell? It says, yet who can fail to make a choice between alternatives when only one is seen as valuable? The other is a wholly worthless thing, a but imagined source of guilt and pain. That's all it is. That's all the idea of separation has brought us, guilt and pain. Who hesitates to make a choice like this? And shall we hesitate to choose today? We make the choice for heaven as we wake. That is what the awakening is. The choice for heaven. The choice for reality. The choice for our changeless self. And we spend 5 minutes making sure that we have made the one decision that is what? That is sane. We recognize that we make a conscious choice between what has existence and what has nothing, but an appearance of the truth. This world is just an appearance of the truth, a false appearance of that which is true. It says it's pseudo. Notice now, it's pseudo being. It's false being. Brought to what is real. So when unreality is brought to reality, he calls it a pseudo being. Not a real being. There's only one real being. And we're part of that real being. It says it's pseudo being brought to. When it's brought to what is real, this pseudo being, this ego world, this false idea, he said, it is flimsy and transparent in the light. In other words, it has no existence. It holds no terror now. There's no need to be afraid. There's no hell to go to. There's no hell to be afraid of. Why? Because you have brought that illusion to the truth. It says it holds no terror now. For what was made enormous, what was made huge, what has kept humanity in fear? The belief in hell, the belief in separation, the belief in death. They was enormous fear-based ideas that we made up. It says they hold no terror now. And what was for fear to be invested there, now it is recognized as but a foolish, trivial mistake. Oh, I love the way this course uses words. It says all of this madness, once it's recognized, is only but a foolish, trivial mistake that we made. A tiny mad idea. That's another phrase it uses. a detour into darkness. A prodigal journey that we went on. A belief in separation. A dream. A hallucination. Wild imaginings. Fantasies. All these appearances in many multiple forms that the world present to us and have taught us this false, unaware, ambiguous, that just means multiple choice, perceptual world that will eventually disappear. We now recognize that it was only a foolish, trivial mistake. The truth has come. The light has come. So before we close our eyes to go to sleep tonight, before you close your eyes, or this today, we reaffirm the choice that we have made each hour of the day. We're going to reaffirm the choice that we've made. And now we give the last 5 minutes of our waking day to the decision with which we awoke. As every hour passed today, we will declare our choice again. In a brief, quiet time devoted to maintaining sanity. We're going to have some, you know how they say, we'll have some quiet time. We're going to have some sanity time, because this world and all its appearances are insane, and all its falsehood is insane. The self I made was an insane self, and I'm glad it's not real. And so in every hour, we have declared our choice again. In a brief, quiet time devoted to maintaining sanity. It's called meditation. A quiet time. That's why it's so important. And finally, we close the day with this, acknowledging we close but what we want. Acknowledging that we choose, but what we want. We only want heaven. Why? Because that's all there is. Hell becomes not an option anymore because it doesn't exist. Just like all the other things that we've made up that don't exist. The Book of Man is not real. The Book of Man is not real. This dream of separation is not real. Devil and demons, not real. We made it up. God is not threatened. God is not under attack, and neither are you. So now you can what? Now you can lay yourself down to sleep in peace. You can enter into the rest that God has called all of us to rest. The rest come through the knowing of the truth. No more have to hold a thought or separation. Hold the thought of threat or attack. No longer hold on to all of the boogeyman thoughts, all of the ego thought system. No longer have to hold on to thoughts of terror and dread. It was only a dream. And you have now awakened from the dream. And there's only one choice. And that's heaven. And so it says, heaven. So we close our day by acknowledging that heaven is the decision I must or I have made. Because it's the only decision there is. There are no opposites. There are no alternatives. It says, I make it now. This is your declaration of independence. And you make it right now. And will not change your mind. Because it is the only thing that you really want. The truth is the only thing that we really want. And now that we are aware of it, now that we recognize it, now we declare it. And so this is Workbook Lesson 138. Heaven is the decision that I make. I must make it. I have made it. In heaven, there's no decisions to make. In heaven, there's no decisions. Why? Because heaven is complete and whole, and it merely is. And so are you. And so we've come to the conclusion of this lesson. This is a very good lesson. You'll notice that all these lessons are so consistent that you can teach every lesson in every lesson. Why? Because truth is consistent. You don't need to explain it. You don't have to come up with a reason. See, in religious circles, you have to come up with, you have to try to explain things because they're inconsistent. And so we try to explain it away, and we end up blaming God for everything. Woo! And that's okay. That's our journey to wake up. We do a lot of foolish things with the body, with the mind. A lot of foolish things until we wake up. And then we begin to laugh at ourselves. You laugh all the time when you know what the real deal is. It is kind of comical, you know. They say what? Laughter does good like what? A medicine. Thank you so much for being here. It's been my pleasure to be your temporary guide on the side, your coach, your friend, your teacher, your temporary teacher. Because the real teacher is you. I point you to yourself. You are a teacher of God, and heaven is your only choice. Thank you so much. Have a great day. We'll see you on tomorrow. Bye-bye.